The Galactic Academy Incident. Professor Zixnarath's tentacles quivered with excitement as he addressed the packed auditorium. Students from 100 different species filled the tiered seating, their array of eyes, sensors, and sensory organs all focused intently on the holographic display at the center of the room. Today, esteemed scholars of the Galactic Academy, we embark on a groundbreaking experiment. Zixnarath's melodious voice reverberated through the chamber. For the first time in our institution's history, we will conduct a comprehensive stress test on a species from a Class 12 death world. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Class 12 death worlds were the stuff of legends, planets so harsh and unforgiving that most galactic citizens believed them to be uninhabitable. The idea that sentient life could evolve in such conditions seemed preposterous to many. I present to you, Zixnarath continued, his tentacles gesturing dramatically towards a sealed containment pod. Specimen H1, designation Alex Cooper, a human from the planet Earth. The pod's opaque exterior suddenly became transparent, revealing a bipedal creature with pinkish-brown skin and a mop of dark hair on its head. The human, Alex, blinked in the sudden light, looking around with an expression of mixed curiosity and apprehension. Valix, a Centaurian student with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes, leaned forward in fascination. "Professor," she called out, her translator rendering her clicks and whistles into standard galactic, "is it safe to have such a dangerous creature here? I've heard stories about humans." Zixnarath's color-shifting skin rippled with amusement. "Rest assured, we have taken every precaution. The containment field is designed to withstand forces that would tear a small moon apart. Now, let us begin the tests." Alex, still somewhat disoriented, found his voice. Excuse me. I was told this was going to be a cultural exchange program. What's going on?" The professor ignored Alex's question, instead addressing his assistant. "Initiate test sequence alpha. Let's start with something simple, gravity fluctuations." Before Alex could protest further, he felt the floor beneath him shift. Suddenly, he was pressed down with crushing force, his knees buckling under the intense gravity. Just as quickly, the gravity reversed, sending him floating towards the ceiling of the pod. "Fascinating," Zixnarath exclaimed, his tentacles dancing excitedly. "Notice how the specimen's musculature adapts almost instantaneously to the changing conditions. Most species would have been pulverized by now." Alex, gritting his teeth, managed to stabilize himself using the pod's walls. "Hey, this isn't funny. Let me out of here." But the tests were just beginning. Over the next hour, Alex was subjected to rapid temperature changes, from near absolute zero to scorching heat that would melt lead. He endured atmospheric pressures that would crush his submarine and vacuum conditions that should have caused his blood to boil. Through it all, Alex not only survived but remained conscious and increasingly irritated. The audience watched in awe as the human displayed resilience beyond anything they had ever witnessed. Valix, her initial fear giving way to admiration, found herself cheering for Alex as he overcame each new challenge. "This is unprecedented," Zixnarath declared, his voice tinged with both excitement and frustration. "The specimen shows no signs of significant distress. Let's move on to the chemical trials." As a noxious green gas began to fill the pod, Alex's patience finally snapped. With a roar of anger that caused several students to recoil in fear, he slammed his fist against the containment field. To everyone's shock, including Alex's, a crack appeared in the supposedly impenetrable barrier. Alarms blared throughout the auditorium. Zixnarath's color drained to a pale gray. Impossible. That field could withstand a starship collision. Alex, realizing what he had done, struck the field again with renewed determination. The crack widened, spreading like a spider's web across the surface of the pod. Panic erupted in the audience. Students scrambled for the exits, their natural flight instincts taking over at the prospect of a Deathworlder breaking free. Valix, however, remained rooted to her seat, her multifaceted eyes fixed on the incredible scene unfolding before her. With a final, mighty blow, Alex shattered the containment field. The force of the breach sent a shockwave through the auditorium, knocking over equipment and sending lighter species tumbling through the air. Alex stepped out of the ruined pod, his eyes scanning the chaos around him. Most of the students had fled, leaving only a handful of frozen observers and the terrified form of Professor Zixnarath cowering behind his lectern. "Right," Alex said, brushing off some residual frost from the cold tests. "I think it's time we had a chat about the proper way to conduct a cultural exchange, don't you?" Zixnarath's tentacles trembled as he tried to form words. Please, Specimen H1. We meant no harm. This was all in the name of science." Alex took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm himself. "My name is Alex, not Specimen H1. And where I come from, we have something called informed consent for scientific experiments. Look it up." As Alex approached the lectern, Valix finally found the courage to speak. That was amazing," she exclaimed, her scales shimmering with excitement. "How did you do that? How are you even alive after all those tests?" Alex turned to the Centaurian student, his expression softening slightly. "Honestly, I have no idea. I'm just as surprised as you are. On Earth, we're not exactly indestructible. But I guess when you grow up on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to be tough." Zixnarath, sensing that immediate danger might have passed, cautiously emerged from behind the lectern. "Fascinating. It seems our understanding of Deathworld species is woefully inadequate. Specimen. I mean, Alex, would you be willing to participate in some voluntary studies? With your full consent, of course." Alex raised an eyebrow. "You've got to be kidding me. After what you just put me through." "Perhaps," Valix interjected, "we could start with that cultural exchange you mentioned. I, for one, would love to learn more about Earth and its people." Alex considered this for a moment, then nodded. "All right, that sounds fair. But first, I could really use something to eat. You wouldn't believe how hungry breaking out of an indestructible containment pod can make a guy." As the remaining students gathered around Alex, their fear giving way to curiosity, Zixnarath realized that this disastrous experiment might have inadvertently opened the door to a new era of interspecies understanding. And perhaps he mused as he watched Alex animatedly describe Earth cuisine to his rapt audience. It was time for the Galactic Academy to reassess its approach to studying new species. In the days that followed, news of the indestructible Earthling spread across the campus like wildfire. Alex found himself the center of attention, bombarded with questions about Earth and human physiology. He took it all in stride, patiently explaining concepts like sunburn and allergies to bewildered alien students who couldn't fathom how such a resilient species could be bothered by such seemingly trivial things. Valix became Alex's unofficial guide to life at the Galactic Academy, helping him navigate the complex social hierarchies and customs of the various species. In return, Alex regaled her with tales of Earth's diverse ecosystems and cultures, painting a picture of a world that seemed both terrifying and wondrous to the Centaurian. As for Professor Zixnarath, he faced an inquiry from the Academy Board for his unethical experiment. However, the wealth of data gathered from the incident, combined with Alex's surprising willingness to participate in properly conducted follow-up studies, ultimately saved the professor's career. He would go on to become the leading expert in Deathworld xenobiology, with Alex as his reluctant but invaluable research partner. The Galactic Academy would never be the same after the day a human broke free from its strongest containment field. But as interspecies friendships formed and knowledge was shared, it became clear that sometimes the most profound scientific discoveries come not from controlled experiments, but from the unexpected consequences of human resilience and the power of cultural understanding, unexpected allies, and hidden strengths. The weeks following the infamous containment breach incident brought unprecedented changes to the Galactic Academy. Alex Cooper, once a mere research subject, now found himself at the center of academic and social revolution. His presence on campus challenged long-held beliefs about Deathworlders and forced both students and faculty to confront their preconceptions about interspecies capabilities. One crisp morning, as Alex made his way to the Academy's vast library, he noticed a commotion near the anti-gravity lifts. A group of Zorblaxian students, known for their superiority complex and disdain for lesser species, were taunting a small, gelatinous creature struggling to maintain its form in the planet's gravity. "Hey!" Alex called out, his voice carrying the unmistakable edge of a challenge. "What's going on here?" The lead Zorblaxian, a towering mass of chitinous plates and glowing sensory nodes, turned to face Alex. "This is none of your concern, Earthling. This pathetic globkin has no business at an institution of higher learning. Its homeworld's gravity is a fraction of ours. It can barely hold itself together, let alone compete academically." Alex stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. The Zorblaxians, despite their bravado, instinctively shifted backward. The memory of Alex's strength during the containment breach was still fresh in everyone's minds. "I seem to recall," Alex said, his voice deceptively calm, "that your species struggled with simple locomotion when you first arrived here. Adaptation takes time. Besides, physical capability isn't the only measure of intelligence or worth." The globkin, its amorphous body quivering with what might have been fear or gratitude, burbled something unintelligible. Alex knelt down beside it, offering a reassuring smile. "It's okay," he said softly. "What's your name?" The creature's surface rippled, forming patterns that Alex's universal translator interpreted as speech. "Bloopty," came the timid reply. I'm studying xenolinguistics. But maybe the Zorblaxians are right. Maybe I don't belong here." Alex's expression hardened as he stood to face the Zorblaxians again. "Bloopty here is probably capable of learning and reproducing sounds your vocal structures could never manage." In fact, he turned to the globkin with a mischievous grin. "Why don't we put that to the test?" Over the next hour, an impromptu linguistics competition unfolded in the Academy's central plaza. Word spread quickly, and soon a diverse crowd of students and faculty gathered to watch. Alex, drawing on his knowledge of Earth's myriad languages, challenged both Bloopty and the Zorblaxians to reproduce increasingly complex phonemes and tonal patterns. To everyone's amazement, Bloopty's gelatinous form proved to be incredibly adept at shaping itself to produce a wide range of sounds. The globkin effortlessly mimicked everything from the guttural growls of Klingon, which Alex had learned from Earth's science fiction shows, to the melodic trills of avian species. The Zorblaxians, on the other hand, found themselves struggling with sounds outside their natural range. Their frustration grew as Bloopty continued to excel, earning cheers and applause from the gathered crowd. Valix, who had joined the spectators, couldn't contain her excitement. "This is incredible," she exclaimed, her iridescent scales shimmering with delight. "I had no idea globkins were capable of such linguistic feats." Professor Zixnarath, drawn by the commotion, watched the proceedings with growing interest. "Remarkable," he mused, his tentacles twirling thoughtfully. "It seems we've been overlooking the potential of non-traditional morphologies in xenolinguistics. This could revolutionize our translation protocols." As the competition drew to a close, it was clear that Bloopty had not only held its own, but had thoroughly outperformed the Zorblaxians in linguistic flexibility. The gelatinous student's body pulsed with colors that the translator interpreted as a mix of pride and gratitude. "Thank you, Alex," Bloopty burbled, its form more stable now that its confidence had grown. "I never realized I had such an ability. Perhaps there is a place for me here after all." The lead Zorblaxian, visibly humbled, approached Bloopty. "We may have been hasty in our judgment," it chittered, mandibles clicking uncomfortably. "Your linguistic skills are indeed impressive. Perhaps we could study together sometime." Alex watched with satisfaction as bridges of understanding began to form between species that had previously seen each other as incompatible. It was a small step, but a significant one. As the crowd dispersed, Professor Zixnerath pulled Alex aside. "I must admit, your approach to problem-solving continues to surprise me," the professor said. "You've turned a potential conflict into a learning opportunity for everyone involved." Alex shrugged, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "On Earth, we have a saying. The pen is mightier than the sword. Sometimes, the best way to overcome prejudice is through education and understanding, not force." Zixnerath's skin rippled with curiosity. "Fascinating. And yet, you're capable of tremendous physical feats as well. It seems humans are full of contradictions. That's what makes us interesting," Alex replied with a wink. As they walked together towards the library, Alex's original destination, Zixnerath broached a subject that had been on his mind for days. "Alex, I've been analyzing the data from your initial arrival at the Academy. There's something I can't quite explain." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what's that?" "Your physiological responses during the tests were remarkable, yes, but they don't fully account for your ability to break through the containment field. By all measures, it should have been impossible for a being of your mass and strength." Alex frowned. "Considering this, what are you suggesting, Professor?" Zixnerath's voice lowered conspiratorially. "I believe there may be more to human capabilities than even you are aware of. Perhaps, under extreme stress, you're able to tap into hidden reserves of strength or alter your physical properties in ways we don't yet understand." The implications of this statement hung in the air between them. If true, it meant that humans might be even more extraordinary than anyone had realized, including humans themselves. "That's a lot to process," Alex said finally. "What do you propose we do with this information?" Zixnerath's tentacles waved excitedly. "With your consent, of course, I'd like to conduct a new series of tests. Ethical ones," he added hastily, seeing Alex's expression darken. "We could unlock secrets about human potential that could benefit both our species." Alex was silent for a long moment, weighing the possibilities. On one hand, the idea of more tests made him uneasy after his initial experience. On the other, the chance to learn more about his own species' capabilities was tempting. "All right," he said at last, "but we do this my way. No more containment pods, no more surprise gravity wells. And Velix and Blupti get to be part of the research team. If we're going to explore human potential, let's make it a true interspecies collaboration." Zixnerath agreed enthusiastically, his mind already racing with the possibilities. As they reached the library, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had come to the Galactic Academy expecting to learn about alien cultures, but it seemed he was about to embark on a journey of discovery about his own species as well. Little did Alex know that this decision would soon put him and his newfound allies at the center of a galactic controversy that would test the limits of not just his physical abilities, but his diplomatic skills as well. The true crucible was yet to come, and the fate of human-alien relations would hang in the balance. The Crucible of Chaos. The Galactic Academy's grand amphitheater buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from a dozen sentient species filled the tiered seating, their attention focused on the central stage, where Alex Cooper stood beside Professor Zixnerath. The past month had been a whirlwind of carefully designed experiments, each pushing the boundaries of known human capabilities. "Esteemed colleagues," Zixnerath began, his tentacles gesticulating dramatically, "what you are about to witness today will reshape our understanding of Deathworld physiology forever." Alex shifted uncomfortably, acutely aware of the hundreds of alien eyes fixed upon him. Velix and Blupti, now key members of the research team, offered encouraging gestures from their positions at the monitoring stations. "Over the past 4 weeks," Zixnerath continued, "we have discovered that humans possess a remarkable ability we've termed adaptive resonance. Under extreme stress, their cellular structure can temporarily alter its fundamental properties, allowing for feats that defy conventional physics. A murmur rippled through the audience. Alex took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The experiments had been intense, but nothing compared to the pressure of this public demonstration. Today, the professor announced, "We will attempt to trigger this adaptive resonance in a controlled environment." Alex has volunteered to. Suddenly, the amphitheater's emergency sirens blared to life, cutting off Zixnereth mid-sentence. Red warning lights bathed the room in an ominous glow. Alert! Alert! The Academy's AI boomed through the speakers. Multiple hull breaches detected. Gravity systems failing. Emergency protocols initiated. Chaos erupted as the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Lighter species found themselves floating helplessly towards the ceiling, while heavier ones struggled to avoid crushing their neighbors. Alex's training kicked in immediately. Valix. Bloopty, help me establish a trade area near the exit, he shouted over the cacophony of panicked voices. As they worked to organize the evacuation, a horrifying realization dawned on them. The Academy, a sprawling space station orbiting a gas giant, was under attack. Through the amphitheater's panoramic windows, they could see sleek, predatory ships swarming around the station. Laser fire lanced through the vacuum, puncturing the Academy's once impregnable defenses. "Pirates!" Zixnereth exclaimed, his color shifting to a sickly gray. "But how? Our location is supposed to be secret." Alex's mind raced. The attack's timing was too perfect to be a coincidence. Someone had leaked information about the human physiology experiments, and now these space pirates were after the ultimate prize. A Deathworlder they could study, exploit, or sell to the highest bidder. As if confirming his fears, a particularly large blast rocked the station. The roof of the amphitheater groaned ominously, stressed beyond its structural limits. "Everyone out. Now." Alex roared, his voice carrying an authority that cut through the panic. He began physically lifting and carrying smaller species towards the exit, his earthborn muscles straining against the failing gravity. Velix and Blupti worked in perfect sync with him, the Centaurian's agility and the Globkin's adaptable form allowing them to reach aliens in distress that Alex couldn't. Just as the last group of evacuees made it to the relative safety of the hallway, a deafening crack echoed through the amphitheater. Alex looked up to see a massive section of the ceiling breaking free, plummeting towards the dozens of aliens still trapped inside. Time seemed to slow. Alex knew he couldn't reach them in time, couldn't possibly move everyone to safety. But deep inside, something stirred, a power he'd only glimpsed during Zixnereth's experiments. With a primal yell that reverberated through the station, Alex charged towards the falling debris. His skin began to shimmer with an otherworldly energy, his muscles swelling beyond their normal limits. As the ceiling crashed down, Alex met it with outstretched arms. The impact was tremendous, sending shockwaves through the floor. But incredibly, impossibly, he held it up. "Go," he grunted through gritted teeth, veins bulging in his neck from the effort. "Get to the escape pods." The trapped aliens didn't need to be told twice. They scrambled to safety, casting awestruck glances at the humans straining under the weight of their would-be tomb. Valix's voice crackled over the comm system. "Alex, the last group is clear. You need to get out of there now." With a final, Herculean effort, Alex heaved the debris aside and sprinted for the exit. He dove through the pressure doors just as they sealed shut, the amphitheater depressurizing behind him with an ominous whoosh. Panting heavily, Alex looked up to see Valix, Blupti, and Zixnereth staring at him with a mixture of relief and astonishment. That was impossible," Zixnereth whispered, his tentacles trembling. "The mass of that debris, the force required to hold it. No known species could have done that." Alex struggled to his feet, his body already beginning to return to its normal state. "Yeah, well, Let's talk about it after we deal with the pirates trying to blow up the station, shall we? As if on cue, another explosion rocked the corridor. The station's AI chimed in with more bad news. Alert. Primary defense systems offline. Boarding parties detected in sectors 3, 7, and 12. We need a plan, Valak said, her scales shifting nervously. The escape pods will be sitting ducks out there with those pirate ships. Alex's eyes narrowed as an idea began to form. Professor, this station has a research vessel for deep space exploration, right? Something sturdier than an escape pod. Zixnarath nodded. Yes, the Celestial Seeker. It's docked in the auxiliary hangar, but... Perfect, Alex interrupted. Here's what we're going to do. Valix, you're the fastest. I need you to get to the communications hub and send out a distress signal to any friendly forces in the sector. Bloopty, your shape-shifting abilities might let you slip past the pirates unnoticed. See if you can sabotage their ships somehow. What about me? Zixnarath asked, a hint of trepidation in his voice. Alex grinned, a fierce light in his eyes. You and I, Professor, are going to steal that research vessel and create one hell of a distraction. As the group split up, each racing to fulfill their part of the desperate plan, Alex couldn't help but marvel at the turn of events. He had come to the Galactic Academy to learn about alien cultures, and now he found himself leading a ragtag team in a battle to save it. The corridors ahead echoed with the sound of approaching pirate boarding parties. Alex flexed his hands, feeling that strange new power humming just beneath his skin. All right, you interstellar lowlifes, he muttered, cracking his knuckles. Let's see how you handle a pissed-off Deathworlder. With that, Alex Cooper, cultural exchange student turned reluctant hero, charged headlong into the fray, ready to show the galaxy just what humans were truly capable of when pushed to their limits. Turning the tables. The corridors of the Galactic Academy, once pristine and orderly, now echoed with the chaos of battle. Alex Cooper, his body still thrumming with newfound power, led Professor Zixnarath through the labyrinthine passageways towards the auxiliary hangar. Every few meters, they encountered evidence of the pirates' destructive advance: scorched walls, overturned equipment, and the occasional unconscious body of a defender or invader. Alex, Zixnarath panted, his tentacles flailing as he struggled to keep up with the human's pace. I must confess, I'm not particularly suited for combat situations. Alex glanced back, a wry smile on his face. Don't worry, Professor. I'm not exactly a trained soldier either, but sometimes you've got to work with what you've got. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a trio of pirates. The Marauders, a motley crew of cybernetically enhanced beings from various species, raised their weapons with predatory grins. Well, the lead pirate sneered, his voice a metallic rasp. If it isn't the famous Deathworlder himself, our boss will pay handsomely for you, boy. Alex's eyes narrowed, his muscles tensing for action. Sorry, but I'm not for sale. Now, we can do this the easy way, or... He didn't get to finish his sentence. The pirates opened fire, energy bolts sizzling through the air. Time seemed to slow for Alex as that strange, adaptive power surged through him once again. With reflexes that surprised even himself, he dodged the incoming fire, closing the distance to the pirates in the blink of an eye. What followed was a blur of motion. Alex's fists and feet connected with cybernetic limbs and organic flesh, each blow carrying the force of a small battering ram. Within seconds, the pirates lay unconscious at his feet, their weapons scattered uselessly around them. Zixnarath stared in awe, his color-shifting skin cycling through a rainbow of shocked hues. By the cosmic winds, he breathed. Alex, your speed, your strength, it's beyond anything we measured in our experiments. Alex flexed his hands, marveling at the absence of pain or fatigue. I think I'm starting to understand it now, Professor. It's like my body knows exactly what it needs to do in any given situation. Strength, speed, durability. It adapts on the fly. A gleam of scientific excitement shone in Zixnareth's eyes, momentarily overshadowing his fear. Fascinating. It's as if millions of years of evolution on a death world have given humans the ability to. We can theorize later. Alex interrupted, already moving down the corridor. Right now, we need to get to that ship. As they neared the auxiliary hangar, Alex's comm unit crackled to life. Valex's voice came through, tense but determined. Alex, I've managed to send out the distress signal. A galactic peacekeeping fleet was on maneuvers nearby. They're en route, but it'll take them at least an hour to reach us. Good work, Valex, Alex replied. Any word from Bloopty? There was a pause before Valex answered, her tone a mix of worry and admiration. Bloopty managed to infiltrate one of the pirate ships. They've sabotaged the main reactor, but they're trapped on board. Alex's jaw clenched. Hang tight, Bloopty, he said into the comm. We're not leaving anyone behind. They reached the hangar bay doors, only to find them sealed and locked down. Zixnareth moved to the control panel, his tentacles dancing over the keys. It's no use, he said after a moment. The pirates have overridden the security protocols. We're locked out. Alex studied the massive doors, an idea forming. Professor, remember how I broke out of that containment pod when I first arrived? Zixnareth's eyes widened. Alex, surely you don't mean to. But the human was already in motion. Alex took a deep breath, focusing on that well of power within him. He placed his hands against the hangar doors, feeling the cool metal beneath his palms. Come on, he muttered. If I can hold up a collapsing ceiling, I can open a damn door. With a primal roar, Alex pushed. At first, nothing happened. Then, with a groan of protesting metal, the doors began to move. Slowly at first, then faster, the massive barrier slid open under the sheer force of Alex's will and newfound strength. Zixnareth watched in stunned silence as Alex forced the doors apart, creating an opening large enough for them to slip through. Inside the hangar bay, the sleek form of the celestial seeker waited, its hull gleaming under the emergency lights. Quickly, Alex said, ushering the professor inside. We need to. His words were cut short by a blast that rocked the hangar. Through the open bay doors, they could see a massive pirate ship looming ominously close to the station. A booming voice echoed through the hangar's comm systems. Attention, creatures of the Galactic Academy. This is Captain Zarg of the Crimson Marauders. Surrender the human specimen, and we might let the rest of you live. Alex's eyes narrowed. Professor, get the ship ready for launch. I'll deal with our uninvited guests. Before Zixnareth could protest, Alex was sprinting towards the open hangar doors. He keyed his comm unit. Valex, Bloopty, if you can hear me, get ready. Things are about to get interesting. With a deep breath, Alex Cooper did something that no sane being in the galaxy would even consider. He leaped out of the hangar bay into the cold vacuum of space, propelling himself towards the massive pirate ship. As he flew through the void, time seemed to slow once again. Alex felt his body changing, adapting to the hostile environment of space. His skin hardened, forming a protective layer against the vacuum. Oxygen reserves he never knew he had kicked in, allowing him to hold his breath far beyond normal human limits. He impacted against the hull of the pirate ship with enough force to leave a sizable dent. Using his enhanced strength, Alex began to tear his way into the vessel, determined to end this threat once and for all. Inside the Celestial Seeker, Professor Zixnareth watched in awe as the seemingly impossible unfolded before his eyes. Remarkable, he whispered, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the full implications of what he was witnessing. Simply remarkable. As alarms blared throughout the pirate ship and chaos erupted within, it became clear that the tables had turned. The hunters had become the hunted, and at the center of it all was a human from Earth, rewriting the laws of what was thought possible in the universe. The battle for the Galactic Academy was far from over, but for the first time since the attack began, hope blossomed. And with it came the dawning realization that the galaxy might never be the same again. A new understanding. The Crimson Marauder's flagship shuddered as Alex Cooper tore through its hull like a force of nature. Alarms blared, crew members scrambled in panic, and Captain Zarg bellowed orders that fell on increasingly deaf ears. The myth of the invincible Deathworlder was no longer just a story. It was smashing its way through their ship with terrifying efficiency. Inside, Alex's mind raced as fast as his body moved. The rush of adrenaline, combined with his newfound adaptive abilities, made him feel more alive than ever before. He dodged energy blasts, shrugged off impacts that would have pulverized normal beings, and left a trail of unconscious pirates in his wake. "Bloopty," he called out, his voice carrying over the cacophony of battle. "Where are you?" A nearby bulkhead rippled and shifted, revealing the amorphous form of his Globkin friend. "Alex, I'm here." Bloopty burbled, relief evident in their fluctuating surface patterns. "But we have a problem. The ship's reactor. I may have been a bit too enthusiastic in my sabotage. It's going to breach in minutes." Alex's eyes widened. "Then we need to evacuate everyone now. Can you interface with the ship's systems?" Bloopty's form rippled with determination. "I can try." As Bloopty merged with a nearby control panel, Alex tapped his comm unit. "Valix, Professor, status report." Zixnareth's voice came through, tinged with excitement and worry. "Alex, it's extraordinary. The Celestial Seeker's sensors are picking up readings from your body that defy all known laws of biology." "Your Professor." Alex interrupted. "I appreciate the scientific enthusiasm, but we've got a more pressing issue. This ship is about to become a very large, very dangerous firework. We need an extraction plan for everyone on board, pirates included." There was a moment of stunned silence before Valix's voice chimed in. "Alex, are you sure? These pirates tried to kill us, tried to kidnap you." Alex's jaw set with determination. "I'm sure. We don't get to decide who's worthy of being saved. We just save them." As if on cue, the ship's internal comm system crackled to life, Bloopty's voice echoing through every corridor. "Attention all crew members. This is not a drill. The main reactor is critical. Proceed to escape pods immediately. This is not a trick. Repeat, this is not a trick." The already chaotic ship erupted into a frenzy of activity. Pirates rushed towards escape pods, their earlier bravado replaced by a very real fear for their lives. Alex sprinted through the corridors, helping injured crew members and directing others towards safety. He found Captain Zarg in the bridge, the alien pirate leader stubbornly refusing to abandon his post. "It's over, Captain," Alex said, his voice firm but not unkind. "There's no shame in living to fight another day." Zarg turned, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on Alex. "Why?" he growled. "Why would you help us after what we've done?" Alex's expression softened slightly. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because every life has value. And because maybe, just maybe, this will make you think twice before attacking innocent people again." For a moment, it seemed like Zarg would argue further. Then, with a defeated slump of his shoulders, he nodded. "You're either the noblest being I've ever met, or the biggest fool in the galaxy. Perhaps both." As they rushed to the last escape pod, the ship's superstructure groaning ominously around them, Alex allowed himself a small smile. "Yeah, I get that a lot." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Escape pods jettisoned from the dying pirate ship as the Celestial Seeker, piloted by Zixnareth and Valix, swooped in to provide cover and assistance. Alex, with Bloopty clinging to his shoulder and Zarg reluctantly in tow, was the last to leave the flagship. Their escape pod had barely cleared the ship when the reactor finally breached. The resulting explosion lit up the local space like a miniature supernova, the shockwave buffeting the fleeing vessels. As the dust settled, and a galactic peacekeeping fleet arrived to secure the area, the full scale of what had transpired began to sink in. The Galactic Academy space station, while damaged, had survived. More importantly, thanks to the efforts of Alex and his friends, casualties had been minimal on both sides. Hours later, after debriefings and medical checkups, Alex found himself standing in the Academy's observation dome. The gas giant they orbited filled the view, its swirling storms a reminder of the chaos they'd just endured. He was joined by Valix, Bloopty, and Professor Zixnareth, all of them still processing the day's events. "So," Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I guess the secret's out about humans, huh?" Zixnareth nodded, his tentacles waving in gentle excitement. "Indeed, your display of adaptive abilities has sent shockwaves through the scientific community. We've received inquiries from every corner of the galaxy." Valix's scales shimmered with concern. "Are you worried, Alex, about how this might change things for Earth and humanity?" Alex considered the question carefully. "A little," he admitted. "But I think it's important to remember that what I did, what I can do, it's not about being superior or invincible. It's about adaptation, about rising to meet challenges." Bloopty burbled in agreement. "Like how we all work together, using our unique abilities to save the Academy." "Exactly," Alex smiled. "Maybe that's the real lesson here. It's not about who's strongest or smartest. It's about understanding each other, appreciating our differences, and coming together when it matters most." Zixnareth's color shifted to a warm, approving hue. "Eloquently put, my dear boy. I believe we have all learned a great deal today. About humans, about ourselves, and about the true meaning of galactic cooperation." As they stood there, watching the stars and contemplating the future, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of optimism. Yes, the road ahead might be challenging. There would be those who feared humanity's potential, others who might seek to exploit it. But there would also be opportunities for understanding, for breaking down barriers between species, for pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. "You know," Alex said, a hint of mischief in his voice, "all this started because I signed up for a cultural exchange program. I'd say we've definitely exchanged some culture today." The observation dome filled with laughter. Valix's melodious trills, Bloopty's bubbling chuckles, Zixnareth's resonant vibrations, and Alex's hearty guffaws. It was the sound of friendship forged in adversity, of barriers broken down, of a future bright with possibility. As the laughter faded, Alex turned his gaze back to the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, a planet that had shaped his species into something remarkable, something that could adapt to any challenge. But he realized now that Earth wasn't the end of human evolution. It was just the beginning. Here, among the stars, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, humanity would face new challenges, adapt in new ways, and grow in directions they had never imagined. And Alex Cooper, cultural exchange student turned reluctant hero, found himself excited to be at the forefront of that journey. The Galactic Academy had set out to study a Deathworlder. Instead, they had gained a friend, an ally, and a glimpse into a future where the boundaries between species blurred, and the galaxy itself became a classroom for them all. As new students arrived and rebuilding efforts began, the legend of the human who saved the Galactic Academy spread far and wide. But for Alex and his friends, it wasn't about the legend. It was about the bonds they had formed, the lessons they had learned, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The universe, vast and mysterious, seemed to twinkle with promise. And in that moment, standing among friends from across the cosmos, Alex knew that the greatest adventures, for himself, for humanity, and for all sentient beings, were yet to come.